Alex Hanser here. It is June 24th, 2016, and this is going to be an update on how things have been going on the property. And I've certainly been here several weeks now and been through a number of experiences, highs and lows, if you will. I've seen a lot of micro crises actually find a resolution. And these types of experiences that I've had and that I am having lead me to believe and suspect and speculate. Sometimes things happen to us that are challenges only to remind us to be grateful about the simple things in life. Let me give you a couple examples. I am not pleased with the amount of data, for example, that Verizon provides for $100 a month on a prepaid, which is my current plan. However, things really change when all of a sudden I'm not getting internet on the property, and it's not easy to get affordable internet when you go off grid and you go into the mountains. In some cases, you have to get satellite internet. So I was really afraid that I was going to have to get satellite internet because initially my Verizon device wasn't working. And then a friend sent me a T-Mobile device. God bless her soul. Hopefully she'll be able to return it because it went back to the sender because it didn't work despite the coverage map. So that left me in a situation, oh my God, I got to get $500 together for the satellite dish. Somebody with my credit has to pay for the dish, unfortunately. The good news is, and this podcast that's going to be going up today is demonstrating that. The good news is that when I repositioned my RV and I placed the Verizon prepaid 4G device at a certain part of the RV in the back by the door, it's like that metal around the door frame seemed to act as a booster, if you will. What I really need to do is get the right booster. Leave a link down below if you know for that specific 4G prepaid model. But I'm very happy to see things like that get resolved. Let me give you another example. The RV. There were issues with the RV. And first I thought it was a radiator issue. And then it turns out it was probably more than likely the thermostat. It was going from medium low to medium high, medium low to medium high. And I was running on water for a while because, of course, there's significant loss. And, I'm not just going to keep putting antifreeze in, and it is the summer, and the RV never got up to hot. So, I've been kind of hoping for a resolution to that. Well, I went into town the other day, and when I went back inside the RV, after doing some work at the library, it didn't start up. In fact, weird stuff was happening, like, carburetor backfired. And in the end, the fact that, the area around the battery was not grounded, it caused a short in the starter, as well as threw some other things off. That's been remedied. I saw myself, how do I say this? More self-reliant in the past this week, seeing some of these challenges come at me. And met a guy. He actually added me on Facebook, and he's in the local area. And, a day after, this person sends me a friend request, and I accept. He's offering to give me some help and come across town, out of the country where he lives on a ranch, to help me figure out why my RV wasn't starting. And so, we went through the whole thing, and, he tapped it. Finally, we got it going, and he advised me to leave it running for several hours. I mean, that is, I had to wait several hours for a friend. I'll get to that next. She came to visit me from another state, and it was one of the most exciting, relaxing, enjoyable weekends that I've had for years. Okay, we'll just leave it at that. I can give some details, but I enjoyed her company. I look forward to seeing her again. So that was really also a highlight, to come into the land, and first time in years since I had really been close to someone in a certain way and more, and really enjoying someone's company and enjoying watching a movie with someone. We'll get to that weird movie later that we rented from Redbox. Oh my God. But I've seen things turn around and turn around and turn around, and even the way that I'm looking at what kind of structure I'm going to live in and how I'm going to pay for that. But, one thing at a time. So he advised me to leave the RV on while I waited for my friend. And somehow or another, the thermostat corrected itself, or whatever was causing it to go from low to high, low to high. I know this sounds weird. I know this sounds like a supernatural phenomena. I know there's going to be some mechanical observations from the audience in the comment section. I welcome it. I welcome it. What do you think's going on with that? What was it about the RV just running for 3 hours and me just continuing to add water as it sits in idle, and it maintained, a medium low position without fluctuating up to medium or hot. And I was told also, which is true, that if you just run your vehicle on water, that it'll overheat. I was lucky that I did not overheat anything to the point where something was damaged, because there's leakage. I was able to add water and add more water. It would turn to steam, add more water. So from the internet being a problem to then that being resolved, boom, that changed everything. That I don't have to spend $500 on satellite internet. Worried about the RV. RV is the most important thing. I was kind of reminded multiple times this week, it's one thing at a time. There are wants and needs. I like a woodshed, but there are certain things that come first. And so I've been thinking about those things. I've also been thinking outside the box. Outside the box with Alex Ansary. And, it is my goal to bring back my show this year. And I'm getting to that point. About an hour ago, I was on the internet and I was looking up canvas tents for the first time. Sizable canvas tents. Now, there's some giant tents out there. I claim they're for 12 people, 10 people. And I was thinking that might be a really good space for a studio that I can afford with my own money after the first of this month. Donations have been light, and I'm going to be okay with that. We're going to talk about that. I did put out a call for people to donate, but I'm not just going to keep putting out those videos and keep putting out those videos. It'd be nice to fundraise enough at once so the building can get done within a certain amount of time. But I understand a lot of people out there are hurting financially. And actually, we're not getting into news right now. Apparently there's major things going on with the economy and Brexit, and gold is at a 27th month high. I'm really grateful to have what I have. And so I realize it is one step at a time. First step, first steps rather. Make sure I make those land payments every month by the first. A certain amount is going to pay for the land. It's also been advised that I try to pay out the land sooner than the 4-year time frame. And there are some people that do that. So there's a number of different things that I can look at when it comes to what I should be doing with every single dollar. Now, the garden shed prefab is a pretty expensive deal. So I've kind of rerouted in the last few weeks, the whole plan of just having something brought in, and instead trying to decide on what kind of a woodshed to build. What I do know is there's something called rough cut. There's a mill locally in the area, and so there is an alternative to going to the lumber yard that charges the top price, if you will. That can get really expensive. For those of you that go to Home Depot or Lowe's, there's a benefit to having a mill that charges significantly less. So that option is there. I want to avoid a problem with the county. So it looks like I may need to be looking at building on blocks, but I already dug the holes for the posts. But someone just told me, when you dig something with a post and it's a structure, that's different. That's a different jurisdiction than, say, a structure that's on wheels, or a structure that's, quote, mobile, or a structure that can't be moved. So there is the possibility of building a tiny home on blocks. This ground, the soil, is very fertile, as I mentioned. It's clay-like, so it's prone to moving. So there might be some sort of a plan of action to put gravel in the holes that I already dug, for those of you that are builders, and I welcome your feedback as well, and putting the concrete blocks on top of that. Now, Kevin Coy, the guy actually trolled me at one time. Kevin Coy has a DVD series on building tiny homes. And my friend that just left, she was just visiting for a few days. She might be back in a few weeks. She left me her DVD set that she purchased from Kevin Coy. So I'm going to be watching that DVD set. It's going to be of higher quality than, of course, a lot of the stuff that's on YouTube for free. Of course, as you know, there's a lot of people out there that are selling woodshed blueprints and things of that nature. And there are some really nice blueprints out there. I'm not looking for super nice, though. You know, it's been a while since I've had my own place, and now that I have, well, my own land, now I'm going to be paying for it the next few years, then it's officially mine. The taxes are cheap. It's probably one of the most worthwhile investment of my entire life. You know, I can't think of any. I can't think of a car. I can't think of a bedroom that I rented with roommates in Portland. I can't think of any nights out on the town in Portland in my younger years. Okay. This is the most valuable and important investment of my life. Now, neighbors. Let me tell you, neighbors are neighbors everywhere. In the sense that, you know, a lot of people have similar ways of looking at the world and looking at outsiders, and it's not in a very positive light. You heard what I had to say about the outsiders that came into Oregon. Look at me now in Colorado, and look at how they're viewing outsiders, and look at how fast they're also growing. So when I go into some of these situations, new areas, I try to learn from my mistakes in the past. This is definitely not a place where I go around telling people about my channel or handing out cards. You know, I have a low profile. You know, there's an ATV that just rolled by the street. And so the neighbors like to do that. They got their big trucks. They haul water. They got motorcycles and ATVs. And really, I just try not even to look in their direction. You know, they have their own little lives. You know, if anything, I'm encroaching on their physical space just by being in the neighborhood. And that's just how people are. So I'm in a mentality right now of not having any problems with anyone. But that doesn't mean that I'm in a mentality of not knowing anyone. I've mentioned before that I have a friend in this area that's 5 minutes away walking. So during that period where I couldn't get internet, how do you think that I kept up to date online and doing my job at AMTV? I walked to his house and worked, did my work a couple hours every day. And then I walked back, try not to overstay my welcome. And I'm really grateful that help was available to me. Now, one of the days, I want to talk more about synchronicity. About a week ago, even though my RV wasn't working too well, some just told me, go into town and get the supplies that you need. Don't procrastinate just because you're trying to live off the grid and just not go to town. Go to town and have a good time. Enjoy yourself. Don't stay stuck. Keep moving. Okay, so you know, I really was having all these thoughts all at once. There was a reason why I had those thoughts. There's a reason I feel that I was meant to get on that road. I picked up my first hitchhiker. You know, and the guy had the whole kind of Big Lebowski thing kind of going on in a good way. The dude with the beard, it was Jesus. Long hair. He needs, he's an older guy. He's been here a year, moved here from Louisiana. And what was the purpose of picking him up? Again, the first person I've ever picked up. Figure, well, he's in your neighborhood. It's an off-grid community. You know, maybe I'll get some new information. Where is the closest water source other than town? You know, how about wood? You know, how about learning about rules and regulations and what things are really like here, or anything I need to know? And so what did I learn from him? You know, through him, I found out that he's been working on a number of woodsheds using wood from a mill that's probably 10 miles from the property. And that's the cheaper mill that I was just discussing. What I learned about water. Well, those people that are driving their big trucks full of those big containers, which is about half the traffic in this area, like, where are they going to get their water? They're going down to like this thing to where they pay $0.25 and it fills up their container, or several quarters. Now, we said it's not drinkable water, but it can be filtered for drinking water. So a lot of people are probably using it for their garden. Now, as far as just the soil, it's incredibly fertile. There's rainwater here. Right now, there's a little bit of a fire risk. There's a heat wave right now in this nation. But this is an area rich in resources. So as time goes on, and as I get more situated, growing food with water that comes from the sky, which is legal, by the way, now in Colorado to harvest, that'll be a way of life. Doing videos on a regular basis, either in a canvas studio or at some point a woodshed, that's going to be in my future. And what I'm finding out right now, and even with very few coming in donations, I made it. And I'm now in a better situation than ever before. I am now able to bring my gas costs down. I was able to... Oh, I don't even think I even told you the rest of the story with the RV. Not only did I get back home with the RV, because he told me not to shut it off, and he was right, because when I went to turn it again, the starter did not start. He just knew. He just knew. So when she came to visit, apparently she knows a few things about fixing things. We take the starter off ourselves. In particular, I do all the work for the first time, taking the starter off the RV. And I went down to Napa and changed it in, and paid $50 for the new one. And we did it ourselves, and this was last night. And we also cut the end of the hose off where it started to leak because of the overheating, because of the thermostat problem and or other problem regarding the ungrounded nature of the battery and the surging of power and that which was going on. There was this, oh yeah, there was corrosion, all that stuff on the battery terminals. There was obviously something power-wise that was throwing off other things. Now the alternator sounds better. I'm going to change the oil out myself, actually for the first time. And so I'm really looking forward to the future, and I'm thinking outside the box. So a woodshed studio is going to be in my future. It's probably going to be in my future before the year is out. The area is already picked out for it, as you can see in one of the pictures in the slideshow. But it may be a few months. But can I do it for under $1,000 with the amount that things cost around here? Knowing about that mill, 10 miles away? Yes. Do I want the right help? Someone to make sure everything's level? Just sit there and shout orders at me and make sure I do it right? Yes. Because this is the vision that I'm getting. After I build my first woodshed, I'm going to be able to build other woodsheds and or mini living quarters. And I do want to have guests, and I'm open to having guests, and I actually am not opposed to the idea of sharing this place with others if I know them well enough. Because I have to protect myself, but I'm not someone that just doesn't trust anybody. Some of you already do know me, Some of the people I know physically, yes, there's a door open for you. You can come and camp here. It's not going to be a big deal. Do I have to use a little bit of caution when I'm dealing with complete strangers? Due to the sensitivity of the nature of this YouTube channel, the obvious answer is yes. So I'm going to use my gut instinct and feeling when it comes to getting back to people or not getting back to, whether I feel something there or whether there, feels like there could be some potential risk. And there is potential risk. Now, how many people, when I was living in my vehicle, offered a place for me to park during my more turbulent days? Very few, because of that risk involved on their part, because there are some people apparently that will take advantage, right? But ultimately, I look at this property and I'm like, others should be able to enjoy something like this. It's going to take some time though for me to get situated, but to have, say, a few builders on site. I already mentioned that the wood is really cheap. You can build certain things for $200 to $300 if you're really good with sizing. Like 8x8 or an 8x6, you might be able to do it for $300 to $400. You might be able to do something really, really nice. So in an ideal situation, I have some closer friends in my life that come on over and we would start working on some of these tiny home models. For now, I am in talks with my friend from out of state, and I'm going to watch those Kevin Coy DVDs. And I think it's important that I take that advice seriously. That by having it on concrete blocks and having it movable, and having, a 10 by 12 is 120 square feet. So that's under the 180. And when you get to that level, you're in another situation with the county. But as I said to my friend, who also has some of her land in another place, where I am now is probably one of the freest places in America. And that's why it's not known. And that's why I don't talk about it. It's just somewhere out there in southern Colorado. But where exactly? That's on a need to know basis. What did we learn from Costilla County? We saw how an off the grid community went on the radar as a place of freedom, and they shut it down. I am not going to make the same mistake. So, as I close this out, a lot of positive things are happening to me and through me. I have enough space. I'm no longer worried about the RV. And if the RV does have some other things that needs to be fixed, I have at least a few $100s on reserve that I can use to fix something or buy a hose. But I'm now there, and it's going to take time to get used to this feeling. I'm there. I'm at this point now where I'm on my property and I have internet and I'm uploading this today. And not only that, there's some good internet news. My $100 a month for 10 gigs, it's really more like 10 gigs for 2 months. I just found out today I didn't use all my data. I used half of it because I went on a YouTube fast. I watched some YouTube still. I watched far less than when I had unlimited internet. And I found that I actually stretched my 10 gigs out. So instead of having to pay my bill today, guess what? I have enough data to do some video uploads and do my work at AMTV Media and thedailymatrix.com and start posting to AATV again. And there's enough data for me to do those short news videos. You wonder why those are short news videos? Is because it doesn't take a lot of space to pop up and upload those videos at 7 megabytes. This podcast, we'll see. After I compress it, we might be looking at about 30 megabytes. Maybe 35, maybe a little bit more. But it's worth it. I think it's important that I continue to share with you what's going on. Because, again, going back, this is a new thing for me. I'm on my own land. I have internet. I don't have to go to town. Unless I have a diet that demands a certain amount of a certain something. And the fact of the matter is, I'm not using a fridge at all. I'd like to get a solar fridge. Leave a link down below for your favorite, one of those that you put in the cigarette lighter type of a thing. That is something that I need to move up to. But I'm actually not using propane for the fridge. I'm not using a fridge this year. Other things, I'm not using a whole lot of propane just for cooking. There's a fire ban right now, but as far as saving on propane, cooking with fire is another way to save fuel. And I got one of those metal gates that you put over the fire pit. So there's another way to conserve. Water, people ask about water. Okay, I have 4 7-gallon containers. Actually, right now I have 5 because she left one. Okay, so instead of having a barrel, right now I have a growing number of the little ones. I want a big barrel. You know what? I can't have everything at once. But you know what? There's enough rain here that having barrels is a must. And there is. There is enough rainfall normally. It's been dry lately, but that's normal this time of year. But the annual rainfall average is enough for a garden. And the soil is rich enough and the sun is powerful enough and the area is large enough that's already been opened up. There's an area when you walk through the trees, it's already open and it gets full sun exposure. So that's going to be something that I'm going to explore later on. So Sitting here on the top of the mountain, literally, metaphorically, and knowing that if I have enough water and I have enough food, I already know I have enough power. I have more power than I need with 400 watts and 2 golf cart batteries and a generator. There's only so many things that I need. So I'm going to push forward with the video series before I get the studio. Okay, I'm going to keep talking about this as things go on and work harder than ever to find my Zen space. Zen in the art of reporting from my RV, but no longer just going from spot to spot. Now, being at my spot. Sure, there are neighbors nearby. There is a certain reality that voices travel. I am an outsider. I don't want to have any problems. And so I have become determined to make it here, to not get involved with dramas, to really enjoy my privacy and space. I mentioned before in previous podcasts, I deleted myself from a local Facebook group when I saw that there were some major personality differences between myself and some Alex Jones Kool-Aid drinkers, to be frank, and likely Trump supporters and people pushing their politics, but asking others to censor themselves. And that was a very good thing for that to happen as well, because it's better for me to meet people in real life through synchronicity in my own locale and separate that from my social media world, my YouTube channel. But this is a very historic time for America. And it is a very good time to be going off the grid for those that have the means. And some have the means. And some could really learn from some of the things that I've gone through, including Costilla County. There are people that have been thinking about going off the grid for a number of years, that have been subscribing to this channel for a number of years and other channels, and they're hearing about the changes, rules, and regulations. They're also hearing from people like me that it's not illegal everywhere. There's no federal ruling banning living in your RV, despite all the hype in April of this year. Ooh, federal HUD ruling. Listen, folks, I'm a walking, living, breathing example of someone that walked away from life in the grid and actually primarily has been surviving from a part-time online job and an even smaller amount from AdSense and a much smaller amount from donations. Now, as time goes on, you're going to see more content from me. And when that happens, certain content is going to go on the Video On Demand channel. I'm thinking about bringing back Outside the Box TV, and that's going to be on the VOD channel. So if you want to support my work, there's a way you can do that. And being a subscriber to the new channel may be a way for you to support my work, other than donating through PayPal. I'm thinking about the Canvas studio, the Canvas tent, just to really give myself a little bit of breathing room. Ultimately, it's not necessarily about looks, although I would like to have a better presentation on video, and I've done it before. I'm capable of it, and I can do better again, all alone by myself, not with Bill at Access TV, going live with multi-million-dollar equipment. No. $100 webcam. I'm speaking right now with a $15 microphone. I'm actually using a $350 computer from Wally World right now. Yes, I made sure to get a warranty and keep the receipt this time. I'm using very cheap equipment to do essentially what I've been doing for years and what I did before in a studio with better equipment. And so I do have a dream, I do have a vision to improve what it is that I do, but to not do it in the grid, but project it back in the grid because, of course, my show, through friends still in Portland that I'm still connected with. Emily, the director of my old TV show, someone I cared about quite a bit, she's there for me the minute that I want to start airing shows in Portland again. All I have to do is just send her the file. And I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about the return of OTBTV, the off-grid edition, and all the stuff I'm going to cover in 1 hour. deciding on which VOD service I'm going to go with. Right now it's VHX, and if you want to talk about that as well in the comment section, let me know. And then I'm going to shoot it out to PCM. And I don't know how many shows are being done off the grid discussing world events, and solar flares, and off-grid news, and spirituality, Gnostic thought. Maybe you can let me know down in the comment section. But if I'm not the first, I'm certainly part of a wave of other pioneers. There are off-grid video people where they talk about off-grid stuff. There are RV people. They talk about RV stuff. The content that I cover and the vast amount of it, the diversity of the content, it's slightly different. It's a slightly different audience. And I feel that audience that's being exposed to, what some could call doom and gloom, fear porn, that they should see it also done from nature, a perspective from nature, to hear the news. And I'm going to go back to covering the news. Like we're talking boom, 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 20 articles in 1 hour, where you end up highly informed in a short amount of time with the news that matters, along with a little bit of entertainment thrown in, video clips and stimuli. Yes. Brain candy. And I'm looking forward to spending that time to make a show more entertaining and informative. But that takes work. And it takes strong focus to create something like that, not in a studio, but say in an RV, in the same place where you live, where you have like your blankets. And sometimes it's not the most inspiring environment. So the woodshed is the goal, but I understand that, I just got here in the last few weeks, and I just went through this micro crisis with the internet. Now that's resolved. And I went through the micro crisis in the RV, and that's resolved. And I met a great woman that I spent a few days with, and that was new. So I'm actually really starting to think about a canvas tent. And maybe there's a certain model that you think is the best bang for the buck, but I want to have at least 8 feet by 8 feet, maybe at least 10 by 12 minimum size. And something like a canvas tent could be heated. But that's all for now, folks. It's been great talking to you. It's been great letting you know that for the first time in my life, things are really, really good. Some of you have really been there for me, and you have watched. And you have seen me at my lowest, and now you're seeing another part of me. And, I'm just happy that I can share it with you now. I'm Alex Hansery, signing off from somewhere out there in Southwest Colorado. It is June 24th, 2016.